If you're a business owner, let's face it, it's only a matter of time before you're approached by some marketing guru who can claim that they're going to get you a busload of customers pouring through your door who have very low expectations, ready to throw buckets of money at you, right? Look, take it from someone who has spent / wasted a healthy mid 6 figures of marketing dollars until I really started to figure this out. Let's get to the bottom of what to look for in a good marketing agency. Here's 3 questions your marketing agency should be asking you before you give them any money. I once had a young man stop by my office trying to sell me on radio advertising for my property management business. Before I could get a word in, he launched into his presentation about their average listener's age and their average income, and then he opened his little 3-ring binder and showed me a map of concentric circles of showing how far out their listenership reached compared to their competitors, and how many times their listeners would hear me on the radio each day with a mere investment of $20,000 per month. I let him go on for a while until he wore himself out. At the end, I asked him one question that made him realize that he didn't quite do his homework. And I asked him, "What business do you think I'm in?" And he blinked at me for a second. He was doing the spray and pray method of marketing that I'm going to talk about here in a minute. And he says, "Well, you rent apartments to people." And to be fair, he was partially correct. We do rent to people, but apartments are a very small part of the rental portfolio that we have. Most of what we had at the time specifically were single-family houses, not apartments. And if you're not in the business, I know that sounds like a small detail, but it's a very important detail. Mostly because people who could afford an apartment generally can't afford a house. We'll come back to that in a second. The next question I asked him said, "Who do you think it is that I'm trying to attract?" He said, "Well, you're a property management company, so I assume it's anybody who's looking for a place to rent." He assumed wrong. Up to that point, my management company was growing like crazy, but the rate of growth had started to level off. I was still growing, but I was growing at a decreasing rate. I had a supply side problem, not a demand side problem. We had more renters coming to us than we had properties to rent, which meant I needed more management clients with single family houses. I did not need more renters coming to me. And most of our management clients that we served lived out of the area, far outside of where the radio station reached. A better solution would have been another form of marketing, such as enhancing our SEO or running Google ads for people looking for property management in my area. If he had stopped and just asked me those 2 questions right there, specifically, what business are you actually in and who are you trying to reach, it would have saved both of us a tremendous amount of time. The answer to both of those questions would relate to specifically to the advertising copy, the words that I would write in my advertisement. This is particularly true when answering the question, who are you trying to reach? Call that person an ideal client avatar. Call it a dream customer. Call it whatever you want. But you have to know who you're trying to attract in order to attract them. In other words, you have to know what kind of bait to put in the water in order to attract the kind of fish you want to catch. It seems most marketing agencies out there take the approach of trying to gain the attention of everyone and not being exclusive and direct their marketing to an ideal customer. This is the spray and pray approach to marketing that I talked about earlier. I can tell you the spray and pray model of marketing is not only less effective, it's really expensive. If you're trying to attract everyone, let's face it, you're going to get anyone. And that also includes people who don't have money to pay for your product and services. The very best businesses know how to attract exactly who they want to serve because they know how to serve them best. And those are the businesses making the most amount of money with the least amount of headaches. I got this wrong for a really long time until I realized that I had horrible clients who were just better customers for someone else. And I came to learn to say this: I'd rather you be a happy customer of someone else than an unhappy customer of mine. One of my coaching clients said this a little bit differently, that not all money is good money. And since coming to that conclusion, that client went from 6 figures in revenues to bumping close to 8 figures in revenues, all in about 24 months. Not too shabby. So before we get to the last question, let's review real fast. The first 2 questions they should be asking are what business are you in specifically, and who are you trying to reach? Now, if you'd like to get a little bit deeper on this topic and get a really strategic approach to your business, I'd invite you to check out the Strategic Life and Business Blueprint. I'll leave a link to that in the description. So the first two questions, again, they should be asking you are, what business are you in specifically, and who are you trying to reach? This last question that this guy could have asked me is, what's your conversion tool? What do I mean by the conversion tool is how do you convert your leads into prospects and your prospects into buyers? If I were a professional marketer, which I am not, but if I'm about to spend your money on letting the world know, number one, what it is that you do, that's why I asked what business that you're in. Number two, using the appropriate language in the ad copy that's going to attract just the right client that you want, that's why I asked who you're trying to reach. And number three, it would be important to know how you're planning on handling the lead flow. That's why I asked about the conversion tool. Look, there's a few reasons why I'd want to know about the conversion tool. Probably the most important reason is if I'm really good at what I do, are you going to be able to handle the increased traffic when it comes to actually fulfilling the operational function of your business? In other words, if you're a tire and muffler shop and you've got one phone line and one person that handles the phone and the walk-in lobby traffic, are you going to be able to handle a mass influx of traffic if that happens? Or maybe they just start showing up at your office. Do you have the ability to handle the overflow and back up the person at the front desk of your HVAC company? One of the other reasons is so that you can track the increase in your traffic. In order to know if the ads that I was running were effective, I'd want to know what the increase in traffic was. In order to do that, I need to know where you plan to drive your leads to. The best marketers are data-driven, and they should want to know how you plan to track your traffic. And if they're not bringing that up, you're not dealing with a professional. Look, there are other important questions to consider, but if these marketing gurus don't even know enough to stop and ask you about these things, hang up the phone. What you'll come to learn is that most of these companies are really good at one thing, and that's at marketing themselves. And that's about it. We're going to wrap up this video, but before we do, if you take nothing else away from this, I'd invite you to ask yourself one question before hiring a marketing agency. What does a successful marketing campaign actually look like? Specifically, what metrics would make this a base hit? And what metrics would make this a grand slam home run? With the answers to those questions, at least you'd have something to shoot for. That's all I have for today. If you like this video, please hit the like button. And if you like content like this designed for you, the business owner, please hit subscribe. Remember, there is no amount of money that will make time irrelevant. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.